Hello my tubers, it's me. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about what is a spiritual awakening exactly, and I'll tell a little bit about my experience. So if you're interested, then keep watching, and if you could like and subscribe, I would really love that, and I would love to have you here. What is a spiritual awakening? A spiritual awakening at its core is a shift in perspective. So it's a shift in beliefs from only believing in the material world to learning to believe in the unseen and the unknown and the mystery and a higher power, if you want to call it that, or a bigger force driving things, bigger than what you can only measure. So a spiritual awakening is a new belief system, and a spiritual awakening is a continual shift in your perspectives and your beliefs and opening up to new possibilities and new ideas outside of just the material world. A spiritual awakening is learning how to look at the world in an entirely new way, and with all of the new insight and perspective and presence that you start to gain, your perspective continues to shift and you're continuing to look at the world in a new, amazing way. So it's a continual, gradual shift in perspective. I just want to talk about this very briefly. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but spirituality and religion are two completely separate things. You can be religious and spiritual, so some people who are religious are spiritual. I don't want to go too deep into it because I don't know too much about religion because I was not raised in it. I've never been around it very much, but spirituality is an entirely inward, inner journey with you and the higher power. And you can call it whatever you want. You can call it God, you can call it the universe, you can call it spirit. Whatever the right word for you is, it's the word that you're going to feel most comfortable with. For me, I call it the universe because I used to be so science-minded, and the universe, just, I love that. It's awe-inspiring, that word to me, the universe. It just invokes so much already. It's a powerful word to me. At its core, all of those things are the same. So whatever you want to call it. And with that, religion and spirituality are two different things. I'm not saying religious people aren't spiritual, because a lot of them are spiritual. But you can be religious and not spiritual. You can also be spiritual and not religious. And spirituality, it's entirely inward, just between you and the universe. It has nothing to do. You don't have to pay anyone. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to put your power into any organization. The power is within you, and the power is between you and the universe and your relationship with the universe. It's all within. Versus religion is an organized, structured, human created way of worship. So they are two different things. I don't want to go too much into it. For me, I'm a very spiritual person, but I'm not religious at all. I really love spirituality in that it is such an inward journey, and it is such a powerful one, and you really learn the power of yourself and how amazing you are, and you get to kind of figure it out on your own. You get to decide, oh, I don't really want to take in that belief system, or I don't really want to go down that path right now. Like, this is what I want to focus on. So it's just such a cool thing being on a spiritual journey and really diving into yourself and who you truly are and your relationship with the universe. So a spiritual awakening definitely requires a bit of an open mind. Well, a lot of an open mind. Since it is a shift in perspective, you have to be open-minded to ways that are thinking outside of your current way of thought. And this can be difficult sometimes, but how I like to really keep my mind open is, even if I don't agree with something, I try and think through it. I don't try and just put it down and ignore it and say that's stupid and push it away. I try and think through it and try and see if I can wrap my mind around it somehow. And I don't have to agree with it, and I don't have to take it into my belief system. But in order to have an open mind, I always try and take things in, chew on them, and go from there. I try to not immediately, instantly reject stuff. Actually, a really good way to kind of see if you're being closed-minded is to notice if you're having a really strong emotional reaction to something. So I talk about this a little bit in my book, but if you have a strong emotional reaction, for me, I used to really get annoyed with vegans. I used to think they were so annoying, so stupid. There came a time where I was like, why do I hate vegans so much? But I took the time, sat with my thoughts, and I realized, oh, I actually just hate the idea of killing and eating animals. And hearing about someone else not eating animals brings up those feelings in me. And so I put vegans in a box so that I wouldn't have to think about that at all. I wouldn't have to think about my own discomfort with killing and eating animals. So that's just one example, but I used to get so emotional. I would get so annoyed, so upset, so irritated with vegans, which may seem like a silly example, but there's so many things that once you start to recognize, oh, am I getting emotional about this? Why is that? Once you start to recognize that, you can start to think through these things and start to open up your mind to new possibilities and start to recognize where your emotions might be coming from, because they might not actually be coming from hating that group of people. They might be coming from hating yourself in a way. So just something to think about. But a spiritual awakening definitely requires a little bit of an open mind to different ways of thinking, an open mind to magic and new possibilities and new perspectives. So keep your mind open for sure. And spiritual awakenings can often happen after a huge shift in your life, which causes you to kind of question if there's more, if there's a reason why this happened, like a loss, a divorce, a birth, a midlife crisis, big things in your life, big shifts can cause you to start to re-examine your current belief systems and start to think, okay, maybe I don't have it all figured out. Maybe there is another perspective that is closer to the truth. For me, my spiritual awakening began sometime last year, probably about a year ago, actually. And it really started with this book. I'm gonna pull it up, The Untethered Soul. This book talks about who you really are, which is not your thoughts or your body. So if you want to learn and think more about that, I would highly recommend this. It's not too in your face about like believing in a higher power. It is a really, really good book though, and I really enjoyed it, and it really helped me recognize that I am not my thoughts, and that's kind of the main focus of this book, I would say. For me and for a lot of people, that recognition of who you really are and that recognition that you are not your thoughts was the beginning of my huge shifts in perspective that just keep on coming and coming, and my mind keeps expanding, but that was truly the beginning. That understanding of consciousness versus thoughts, your consciousness versus your thoughts, is so incredibly helpful and so mind-blowing at first, and it took me a few weeks to wrap my mind around that shift. And with each stage of my spiritual awakening, it takes me time to really wrap my mind around and believe and trust and understand certain perspectives. But I read this book, I meditated, I just really sat with it, I thought about it, I tried to be present with it, and it helped me so much. So that shift in perspective was the beginning of my spiritual awakening, and it has only grown from there. So I would highly recommend this book. If you don't like to read, audiobook. And if you don't like to audiobook or read, just meditate. just go straight into meditating, I guess. One other book recommendation really quick. The Power of Now. Would highly recommend this to everyone on the planet. It's not too out there. It's not too like God, universe, whatever. There is a little bit of that, but it's mostly if you aren't spiritual at all, or you're just starting and you're not super deep into it really yet. It's so good. It mainly focuses on the present moment, not worrying about the past or the future, and how the present moment is really the only thing that exists and how insanely powerful it is. Would also recommend that if you're wanting to be spiritually awake. And I would also recommend, don't just read the books. Meditate, think about them, keep them as reminders. Don't just read them and then like, bye. For me, spirituality is a really fun, amazing, magical, happy, joyous take on life. I love that I've discovered this. My life is so much better. I feel so much happier. I'm really learning to not live in fear because I did for a whole lot of years, and I'm over it and I'm ready to not, and I'm working on it, and it's great. It's a belief in more than we can comprehend and understand as humans, which is so amazing. It's so incredible. It's such a deep, amazing thing. Spirituality is so cool. And with the belief of consciousness, presence, the belief in the spiritual and the unseen, my life just feels so much more magical and meaningful. And what's the point of life if it's not enjoying it, you know? Spirituality has so many different avenues, and we get to kind of pick and choose and see what we need to learn, what feels right for us right now. There's so many new ways to expand and grow and understand, and it's so amazing. It's such a huge, beautiful, amazing thing, and the universe is just my homie. I believe in the universe now. So instead of just talking to myself, which kind of is talking to the universe, I feel like I'm talking to someone else sometimes when I'm talking to the universe. It's just, I feel so much more connected, which might sound crazy if you're not on this level. But anyways, it's great having a friend called the universe that has like magical, infinite powers and is so amazing. So, hey. Hey. With spirituality, I just want to say, for me personally, the fear in my life, all the way down, the worry down, the whatever, the grip, the control that I was trying to have, it's decreasing by the day. Like, I have so much more trust, so much more relaxed, so much more happy. I'm not perfect. It's a continual shift in perspective, but I'm really learning to trust and surrender, which is freaking awesome, because it's not fun trying to control the world and feeling like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. It's not what life should be about. You should feel like you're supported by something other than yourself. So love it. Really would recommend. There's just a sense of trust there, and there's a sense of comfort that I didn't have whatsoever with my non-spiritual perspective. And then one more thing before we sign off. Spirituality is a completely inward journey. You don't need anything outside of you. You don't need to go to a church and pray. You don't need to buy a deck of tarot cards. You don't need anything. The most important thing would be to search for new knowledge, whether it be books, podcasts, audiobooks, videos. Have an open mind with that knowledge. That doesn't mean you need to take all of that knowledge in and accept it as a fact. You actually should not do that. You should decide for yourself what feels right for you. But it really is just, it's an inner journey of your mind and your body and your spirit. Take in that knowledge with an open mind, expand, continue to shift your perspective, continue to grow, continue to enjoy and become happier and become more trusting and more loving and more at ease and more grateful. One more thing you need the willingness to sit down with your thoughts. And this is very, very difficult because we spend probably 99% of the day trying to ignore our thoughts and trying to escape them. But in order to have a spiritual expansion, you need to really meditate, put the time in to sit with your thoughts, because when you do, you learn they're not real. They're not actually that scary. They're just silly thoughts and they're not you. So yeah, open mind, willingness to sit alone with yourself for a little bit. Well, for a lot, because you're gonna have to keep growing and learning and expanding and stuff. But it gets easier, it gets way more fun, and it is so worth it. And just keep seeking resources and new knowledge if you're interested. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If there's any other videos you'd like to see from me, please let me know. I would love to make them. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!